What a day. Just going to react with two matches. I'll give the third later on as I have not seen Peru and Paraguay. I know that Luis Advíncula was sent off. I didn't see that, so I'm not going to talk about that right now. I'll talk about that later. Colombia beats Venezuela. I did not like Colombia in the first half at all. They looked at times they looked nervous. At times they were not very sharp. The only moments of sharpness, if you will, in the first half were when Luis Diaz ends up being called offside. A great association with him and Borré to be able to hook up. Borré, when he was able to move in a more pivoting position, he ends up being the difference maker. Of course, he ends up being the difference maker and scoring the only goal of the match in the second half. Over on the right, it was Juan Guillermo Cuadrado that ended up making a difference. Obviously, the insertion of other players ends up being a major factor for Colombia. As one thing that was very prevalent, that was very noticeable for Colombia in certain stages of this match was that there was no one in the middle to really create. Um, Having Mateo Uribe not there, not quite that what they needed in terms of being able to circulate the ball well. Everything had to be down the wings. Lucho Diaz on one end, Cuadrado, and Daniel Munoz over on the right side, and of course whatever ball ended up coming into the middle with Borre ended up being a difference in the first half. Venezuela, with very little were attacking. They found themselves with a couple of opportunities to be able to score. Yes, Colombia suffered against a very well structured defensive side. Bocha Batista has done a great job to really set up this Venezuelan side to, I don't know if prioritize defense ends up being um, fair, but defensively they were well structured. Okay. And that's, I guess, the best way to say it because they really closed down Colombia. They really reduced spaces. And Colombia had to start playing with a bit more quickness, a bit more intention in order to be able to break those lines a little bit more. So big win for Colombia. Big win to start out World Cup qualifying play. As of course the format's changed, so you're not going to get overly excited about qualifying. Colombia by obligation should qualify for the World Cup. Colombia should be maybe fourth, maybe fifth, maybe even sixth in terms of getting in to the 2026 World Cup. And for me, that's pretty much where they have to start striving for. Meanwhile, over at the Monumental, probably the best match today in World Cup qualifying play. Argentina, Ecuador. Ecuador played a sensational match in Buenos Aires. They really did. Felix Sanchez is really showing a side. Yeah, the same Felix Sanchez that coached Qatar in the World Cup. He ends up going to Ecuador and is impressing. They didn't back down. They went for the game. They went for the result. They wanted to get the points, at least a point. And at a moment in time in this match, it seemed like it was going to be a nil-all because Messi didn't have the clarity. Argentina didn't have the clarity, but also Ecuador defended well. They countered well. They were able to break out well. They were able to find the right players well enough. And of course, for Ecuador, the big problem ended up being finding Ener Valencia, finding that finishing touch to really put Dibu Martinez in a precarious situation. They did not. Messi was not the man of the match. Messi was not. Now, I'm not saying that he played poorly. He just didn't play as well as one would expect him to play. That doesn't mean that that he played poorly. Now, he ends up making a difference. He just needs a moment. He doesn't need to play well for 90 minutes. He just needs one chance. And he got that one chance, that free kick in the 77th, 78th minute, something like that. He got it. And from that area, all you need is just to get that ball over the wall. If you get it over the wall, you won't have to battle. And he did exactly that. And he pretty much ends up rippling the back of the net. No problem whatsoever. I think it's his 65th free kick. He also ties Luis Suarez as the all-time leading goal scorer in South American World Cup qualifiers. He's looking to break that record when they head to Bolivia in midweek for the second round of World Cup qualifying play. Argentina didn't look sharp, but there were individuals that did. Cuti Romero, Rodrigo de Paul. Rodrigo de Paul's form at Atletico Madrid is really translating with the national team now, and you see a different Rodrigo de Paul compared to the World Cup and in the previous cycle, which is a good thing. You can see him really switching over and becoming more I guess more flexible. He's able to do more things. He's able to move around better and higher up the pitch and really get involved in different phases and also drop back and defend very well. Cuti Romero, the same thing. Defensively, he was as solid as a rock, but also he ends up going forward. He ends up creating some interesting situations for Argentina as well. So, all this being said, the match was just very compelling because it was back and forth, shot, counter shot, attack, counter attack, vice versa. They were going at each other for a good portion of this match. Neither team was able to budge until, of course, Messi ends up scoring the eventual game winner. So, again, it's been a great first round of South American World Cup qualifiers. Tomorrow they continue as we will see how the remaining protagonists end up doing. I'm going to have another reaction later on. As soon as I see Peru and Paraguay, I'll react on that. But that's been pretty much all I can say in terms of World Cup qualifying for now.